Hello, this is Majida with the Connection Care Community Podcast. And this week we'll be talking about charting and that it is imperfect and that that's completely okay. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed, inconsistent, or confused while tracking your cycle, know that you're not alone. Let's talk about what real learning looks like. So as always, hi there. I'd like to clear up something right now. Charting your cycle is not about perfection. What is it about? It's about connection, it's about consistency, and it's about compassion. But I get it. When you're new to fertility awareness, everything can feel high stakes. You want to do it right. You want to get it perfect. You want to trust your body. You want to trust your cycle. And maybe you're lying awake thinking, what if I mess up? What if I miss something critical? What if I ruin my chance to conceive? Or, right, if you're wanting to avoid, what if I accidentally get pregnant? You're not wrong for wanting to get the fertility awareness practice right. You're not wrong for wanting to chart your cycles right. But here's what I've learned after nearly 2 decades at this point of charting and teaching. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. So let me tell you about a morning that I will never forget. It is the morning that I forgot everything that I knew. It was in 2024, not that long ago, and I was teaching fertility awareness professionally at this point, and I was completely stressed about my own chart. I traveled across multiple time zones. My sleep was erratic. I'd been taking my temperature at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, but my body was still running on Eastern time. But I was also eager to collect charting data to assess some symptoms I've been having and experiencing, and for 4 days, my temps were all over the place. Higher than normal, then randomly dropping, then spiking again. I stared at my chart and felt this familiar panic. Did I ovulate? Did I miss it? Is this a fever? Am I just exhausted? I couldn't tell. And I was supposed to be the expert. That's when I remembered. Charting is a tool. It's not a test. Even with experience, life can throw you curveballs. You may have stress, you may have sleep, you may have travel, you may have a big presentation, you may have a fight with your partner. Right? Our bodies adapt, and sometimes the data gets messy in this adaptation, and that's okay. I looked at my chart, I gave myself permission to slow down and simply be. To be in my own rhythm, to be present with my body, to be present with the practice, to be present with my own sense of trust. And to know that that's not a failure. It's a reminder that charting is not about perfection, it's about connection, about listening, and about understanding your body, even when it's sending you complicated signals. Because charting is about being a human being. So let's name some of the common charting mistakes without shame, right? We're going to talk about the things that charters run into and remove any sense of shame. Just know that these are common mistakes or missteps that we may run into, right? So here's one that I see consistently, both in my own practice as well as with my clients. We may forget to take our temps at the same time every morning. Right? Maybe you slept through the alarm. Maybe your partner woke you up an hour earlier. Maybe you're traveling postpartum, working night shifts, or you're just living an actual human life that doesn't fit neatly into a 6 a.m. wake up. Right? That happens. Or what about confusing different types of cervical fluid? Is it creamy or is it sticky? Is it watery or is it fertile quality? Why does it look different today than yesterday? Right? I've been working with people, I've been charting for years, and sometimes still pause and think, wait, what am I looking at here? Okay, another one. Missing a temp shift because of illness, disrupted sleep, or travel. Your body doesn't care that you're trying to track ovulation. If you're sick or stressed or jet lagged, your temps will reflect that. Here's another one, a big one. Forgetting to chart emotional or mental signs. You marked your physical data, but you forgot to note that you had a major fight with your partner or your mom, or got devastating news, or barely ate all day. Those things do matter, right? They may show up in your chart. So whether you write them down or not, right, those could be showing up and giving you information. And then here we go, second guessing yourself, spiraling into self-doubt. This is the one that gets people the most. You see a pattern and then you convince yourself that you're reading it all wrong. You check 5 different apps, you Google, is this ovulation? You ask strangers on Reddit. You lose trust in what your body is telling you. Any of these sound familiar? So here's what I want you to know. I've shared this before and I'll share it again. I still check in with colleagues to review my charts sometimes. Not because I don't know what I'm doing, but it's because we're not meant to do this in isolation, right? We're not meant to be human beings in isolation, and your charting practice is no different. Even with seasoned practitioners, we benefit from second perspective, support, and a community. So how about a reframe? What if these quote unquote mistakes aren't failures, but actually feedback? A few months ago, I had a client who sent me her chart and there was a frustrated message attached to it. I keep forgetting to take my temperature. I'm just terrible at this. I'm awful at this, right? That's what she was saying. But then when we talked, I asked her, what's happening in the mornings when you forget? It turns out that she's in the middle of a brutal work deadline. She was waking up already anxious, immediately checking her phone, jumping into emails before her feet even touched the floor. Her nervous system was in fight or flight mode before she even had the opportunity to remember that a thermometer was on her nightstand. So this quote unquote mistake, it wasn't about discipline or commitment. This was information. Her body was telling her that she's operating in survival mode. The charting interruption was actually revealing something important about her stress levels, about her adrenal health, about her mental health. Every charting quote unquote mistake is an invitation to slow down and to tune in. Forgot your temp? How was your sleep quality? Right? How have you been sleeping lately? Are you waking up rested or are you already depleted? Confused about your cervical fluid or cervical mucus patterns? Maybe your estrogen is fluctuating more than usual. Or maybe you're dehydrated. Right? Remember, cervical fluid, it's like 80+% water, right? Are we dealing with dehydration? Are we dealing with fluctuations with our hormones? Or maybe it's time to get a method refresher so that you can trust what you're seeing. Your luteal phase is shorter than usual. Perhaps you have been under more stress than you realized, or maybe progesterone just needs some nutritional support, or maybe your body is adapting to something and your chart is showing perhaps what that something could be. Right? What I offer that you take away from this is that your chart doesn't exist to judge you, right? It's a reflection, and it's a reflection that can support us in optimizing our self-care. So, in reflecting on this next section, I want to offer taking a few deep breaths and considering the word grace. And what role does grace have in your life? One of the things that I share with those who work with me and those who are in my community is that grace is part of this method. As I've talked about before in other spaces, that I had a particularly rough and difficult time with adrenal fatigue. Some mornings I physically could not reach for my thermometer. Rolling over felt impossible. My chart was full of gaps at this time. It had missing temps, it had inconsistent data, it had notes in the margins that just said too tired or forgot again. I felt during this time that I was really failing. like I was letting myself down somehow. But looking back at that time, at those imperfect charts, which I still have today, right? That I still have as these beautiful sacred reminders of the most important story of all, is that my body is so wise that it knew to ask for rest. It knew that this was not a time to push, right? It acknowledged that it was just not appropriate for me to try to be quote unquote disciplined, right? Discipline my way through exhaustion, that wasn't what was going to help me. These gaps in my data, they're not mistakes. They were the truth of my experience at that time. And once I started treating them like information instead of like a failure, everything shifted. I could see the bigger pattern, not just in my cycle, but get this, in my whole life. I could make changes that actually supported my body instead of trying to force my body and my system to perform. And that's when I started to really get grace. Grace is part of this method. So, fertility awareness is a practice. It's not a performance. I always tell my clients, and I'll tell you this too, that fertility awareness is a practice just like yoga, meditation, learning a language. It gets richer and more nuanced over time. You will absolutely, right? I'm telling you this now, you will mess up sometimes. You will forget things. You will have confusing cycles that will not fit anywhere near the textbook. You will also learn how to adjust and to adapt. And you will circle back to concepts you thought you understood and realize that there's even another layer. And that's all part of the practice, is all part of the process, because the goal is not perfection. The goal, one of the many goals, is body literacy, which is a deepening conversation with your inner world that evolves as you evolve. I've been having this conversation with my body for almost 20 years at this point, and I'm still learning. I'm still noticing new patterns. I'm still asking for help when something doesn't make sense, and asking for help connecting to community. What that means is that you're engaged. So if you need a little guidance, if you're feeling unsure, overwhelmed, or like you'd like a second pair of eyes on your chart, know that I got you. We have the Cycle Connection, right? As I mentioned before on this podcast, it's my cycle charting course. It'll help you troubleshoot real life charting challenges and ensure that you're doing so with compassion and clarity. We focus on skill building over shame. We focus on body trust over micromanagement. We have a community here, right? A community to support instead of going at it alone. Because when you feel supported, your chart becomes a place of power, not pressure. So I've mentioned before, go to my website, head on to www.connectioncaretherapy.com and grab your free resources, including my free ebook called Hormone Harmony, where I talk about aligning, right, cycle by cycle, phase by phase, your lifestyle. It's a wonderful complement to your charting practice. Hormone Harmony. I had a little hard time saying the word hormone, but we got it out. And so always remember, if you need support, I have my one-on-one consults. I also have a blog called Fertility Awareness 101 on this topic. It's a really wonderful, comprehensive blog if you're looking for more information. And so in closing out, I would love to hear from you. Let me know where you're at in your charting journey. I'd love to know what has worked, what has not worked. Know that it's okay to be messy. It's okay to need help. It's okay to grow. You do not have to be perfect. Perfect and charting do not go hand in hand, right? You just have to keep showing up and keep saying yes to learning more about yourself and your body. And so with that, I will see you in the next podcast and hope to continue to connect with you in community. With grace and with love, Majida.